'Cause if you wanna get to heaven, seems you gotta cut a couple corners, and you gotta pay off a couple corners, and you gotta drop a couple bombs. And on the lopsided land here at history's end, we can only ever be comrades. We can't ever just be friends. Tell me, who do you love? Tell me, who do you love? Tell me, who do you love? Who do you love? Who do you love?
He was shot just walking into work? That is terrible. Well, what was he wearing? Because, if you're wearing a flashy suit and a Rolex, people are going to get ideas. I tell all my CEO friends to always wear a bulletproof vest around. If he had, followed that advice, he would probably be okay right now. Obviously, a murder's never okay, but, when you have a job like CEO, you just know, people are going to think lower of you, so they're not really going to value you. So he probably shouldn't have gone into that. It's a dangerous field. Well, the shooter is clearly just passionate about this topic. I don't think we need to vilify him. He has a really bright future ahead of him. It's one mistake that he made. I'm not saying it was his fault, but if you're going to walk around like that, he really should have hired security. In this day and age, you have to plan for your own safety. If he had had his security with him, he probably would have been fine. No, he could definitely afford security. It kind of looked like in the video he was maybe looking at his phone or something. You have to be really alert when you're walking around. You should always be alert of your surroundings.
So many people, regardless of political affiliation, actually share our values. Right? Yeah. And we see this all the time in the tenant union. We've organized straight up Trump voters. I remember we had this great campaign a couple years ago. Yes.
I love this story, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
We had this great campaign in a trailer park, it's in Kansas City, but right outside of the city proper. And this trailer park, we had heard everyone was going to be displaced so that the county could build a new jail called Hart Village Trailer Homes, right? And we're like, okay, we probably have to go organize there. And we sent out a scout in advance, and the scout went and kind of surveyed. We do this to try to figure out how many people it's going to take to knock all the doors, whatever. The scout went out and counted all the doors, but also came back and was like, there's a lot of Trump signs out there. And so we had this debate within the union. Some people were like, I'm not trying to organize racists into the union. There's no way I'm not knocking on those doors. And other people were like, hang on. We have a community agreement that says we don't make assumptions about anyone, about anything. And those might be our people, and they are going to be displaced so that the county can build a jail, which we all agree is wrong. We have to go knock those doors. So the latter category won out in the end. We said, if you're not comfortable knocking doors, don't go out. But some of the rest of us are going out. And we knocked those doors. And first of all, we definitely found Trump voters. We also found black families, Mexican families. We found working class white families who are not Trump voters. We found a whole mix of people, all of whom were like, we're about to be screwed and we're trying to do something about it. So within a week, we had 111 of the 120 families signed on with the union. And we ended up winning multiple millions of dollars to support their relocation. We canceled their rent for 6 months. I mean, it was this amazing campaign where by the end of it, some of these Trump voters were joining their neighbors in chanting, homes, not jails. That's think about that. That's an abolitionist chant.
That's fucking crazy.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
And, we did not knock on doors teaching lessons about racial capitalism or something like that. But through the union, people get a political education. Through meeting their neighbors and actually forging real relationships with them, they get a political education. Does that mean that they've totally transformed and they're not going to still go vote for Trump? No, but that's not the goal of the union.
I just got into it with one of my professors for good reason. But I just feel like all this shooting a CEO, that's not the solution to our problems. I don't know if anyone said it was the solution, but is it a main factor of the equation? Yes. The P in PEMDAS stands for pop the rich. You got to do that first. This is just going to green light people to start shooting each other. Haven't we been under that green light since 1999? Columbine? I'm confused. I've been scared that I'm gonna die in broad daylight, no motive behind it besides the fact that somebody want to pop a nigga. So I'm trying to figure out what somebody unaliving an actual evil person is gonna greenlight in this country that hasn't already been greenlit. What about the progression of thought? Society's not going to change. People are just dying. These people, I hate to say it, but I think that progressive thinking, like, people know what progressive thought is and they don't give a fuck. So watch this bullet progress through your system, bitch. Rest in peace. Go pray.
Hey everybody, my name is Mohawk Johnson. Some of you might know me as Jeremy Johnson, which is my government name. And I am the guy that hit Officer Gregory Lee Stronsky of the Chicago Police Department upside the head with a skateboard back in 2020. I was at a peaceful protest in 2020 for defunding ICE and for Black Lives Matter. And Officer Gregory Lee Stronsky, who has 9 excessive force complaints, or at least had 9 at the time of this encounter, came out in front, broke formation, and he and several other officers started striking people. One woman got grabbed by the throat, another woman got slammed on the ground and beaten multiple times. And when I saw Officer Stronsky trying to strike more women, I got involved because you can't just beat up women in front of me. So I took my skateboard and I went upside his head and I struck him multiple times. He had herniated discs in his neck. He had to go to the hospital and he had to be off of the force for a little bit. But he then rejoined the force. And since he's rejoined the force, he now has 24 excessive force complaints on his record. He has almost tripled the amount of times he has used excessive force in his time as a police officer since our altercation. I, however, got convicted on 8 counts of aggravated battery of a police officer, of a peace officer, despite the fact that this peace officer had almost 10 excessive force complaints and now has 24. I was not allowed to tour as a comic in the city, despite the fact that I have friends who work for Comedy Central and have written for very famous TV shows that a few of you have watched. I was not allowed to leave my home because I was placed on house arrest for 2 years and am now serving 2 years of probation. For again stopping an officer who had a penchant for beating women, for beating more women, which he's now done 24 separate times. I can't vote in some states, I can't live in some buildings, I can't work in some jobs, and while on house arrest, and you can check this from my other TikTok, Mohawk Johnson, which I will tag in this video, there are hundreds of videos of my leg monitor going off while I was on house arrest because the monitors didn't work properly. Those false alarms were used in court to keep me on house arrest longer and make the courts believe that I am a flight risk because I kept sneaking out, despite the fact that I erected multiple video cameras and security cameras in and outside of my home with the help of my roommates. Again, I couldn't step outside, but they could, in order to make sure that I was not actually leaving when I wasn't supposed to. They would also call me at work incessantly whenever I would leave on my approved movement and accuse me of sneaking out on the work schedule that they gave me, meaning they would approve my work movement and then call me on the work movement that they approved because they would not look at the schedule before they called me, which caused me to have to leave my job, which pushed me into poverty because I wasn't able to work because they would call me at work, and because I was working retail, I could not be talking to the customers while a Cook County sheriff would be on my leg yelling at me. They would then come to my house, threaten to take me to jail, handcuff me in my own home, investigate, rummage through my things, all just to find out that their technology was not working, which I had been reporting for literal months. They would then call me at 3 a.m. every single day, and they called me every day between the hours of 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. daily, and that went on for the last year of me being on house arrest up until I was released, which disallowed me from getting any proper sleep. So I was not able to sleep properly for a year from the experience of being beaten by the police multiple times while at that protest and leaving that protest in a police car, being threatened before my interrogation, and then being tortured psychologically by the Cook County Sheriff's Department. I believe that the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois owes me reparations, and I am bringing this to Brandon Johnson's attention. I want Brandon Johnson, the mayor of the city of Chicago, to acknowledge how much harm the city of Chicago has done to me and how that was done to me on purpose. Mayor Lori Lightfoot actively conspired against me. Kim Fox, our prosecutor, actively conspired against me. the Chicago Police Union was actively involved in my case, in pressuring judges, in pressuring the attorney's office, and I was not given a fair chance, and I ended up having to take a plea deal. And I am privy to all of this, and I want the city of Chicago to acknowledge what they did. I don't want to blackmail anybody, but like, this happened in public, right? And it's been well documented. I want a public acknowledgement and payment for what the city of Chicago did.
Never forget that humanity invented a fake resource and then let a tiny portion of the population use that fake resource to claim ownership of all of the real resources on the planet, hoard them, and then force the majority of people to sell the majority of their lives in service to them. And in return, the masses might be given enough of the actual resources they need to survive. And yet the people continue to go along with this. They keep pretending the fake resource is real. We have been successfully trained and gaslit into believing that the world could not function any other way. Programmed so thoroughly over multiple generations that the majority of people won't even question whether or not the world could or should be different. They don't realize that war is being waged against them. They no longer realize that they are slaves. And anytime you try to tell them, they just parrot the programming they've been fed their whole lives.
I'm a horrible woman and I make content for other horrible women, and if you need motivation to go out there and be difficult and non-compliant today, I'd like you to think about what it must be like to go through life getting out of doing things you don't want to do by pretending to be too stupid to do them, and not only having women then do it for you, but also having them continue to treat you with respect as if you haven't cultivated a reputation for yourself as being an incompetent fuckwit. If you're struggling with feelings of guilt about saying no, or you're feeling like you're not doing enough, I would like you to remember that there are men out there who have never once run their own dishwasher because they only had to pretend to be too stupid to do it once or twice, and as a result, the women in their house have been doing it every night for years. And if you're internalizing shame over being successfully manipulated and exploited by this strategy, I would like to remind you that part of the reason we call it weaponized incompetence instead of just being a useless fucking idiot is because ridiculing men can be dangerous, and we all know that. To help you turn that internalized shame into externalized anger directed at the men who deserve it, I'd like you to reflect on the fact that men forcing you to do unpaid domestic labor by pretending to be too stupid to do it themselves only works because there are men who will force you to do unpaid domestic labor by using their fists. If you woke up feeling any vestiges of sympathy for men or residual impulse to rescue them from their own stupidity, I hope that my reframing that stupidity as the cruelty that it is going to help you feel better about going out there and being selfish and unhelpful all day long.
In case you're just joining us, we're talking today about something that's really fascinating. This is Toby. And Toby is neuter, and we have been, I have been, excuse my ignorance, trying to understand it. Toby, you seem almost proud of the idea that you are neuter. You could be male and fit in with society, or you could be female. I mean, there are ways of doing that today with medical science.
Why should I?
But you don't, but why don't you want, why should you? Because, well, there are girls' schools and boys' schools. You have to put down one or another on all kinds of forms, on driver's licenses and things like that. One would think it would make your life easier to choose one and go with it.
Easier by whose standards? You're a woman.
Right.
There's a lot of discrimination and prejudice against women in this society. It would make your life a lot easier if you would just have your sex changed and become a man. You could fit in better, you would get more professional credibility, you would have a better chance for advancement.
All right, but I can't change what I am, or I don't want to.
Which is it? You can't or you don't want to?
Either. I'm.
But you can't have a sex change.
You could. One could.
One could. I could. You could. Anybody could. Most people don't.
But isn't it complicated in a whole world that's set up for men and women?
It's complicated.
It is complicated. But why choose to do something that's complicated?
I did not choose to exist. Finding that I exist, I determined that it's a good thing that I exist. I like being who I am. Why should I try to be anybody else?
All right, that makes sense. People are probably asking, why are we talking about this today? And one of the reasons is, of course, that the purpose of what we try to do here every day is understanding. And that's why Toby said, okay, let me try and explain. Now, just like me trying to tell you, well, Toby, it's easier being male or female, I'm sure doctors and parents and people have been doing that your whole life, haven't they?
Yes. We can do all these things. We can give you hormones, we can give you surgery, we can teach you behaviors and role-playing and train you to fit in as a female or as a male. We can rearrange your body and put chemicals into you, and it'll change everything. Well, why bother?
Must be a heck of a fight, you know? That's what I'm thinking. It's going through my mind, what a difficult fight. Number one, you don't have a pronoun.
Right.
I can't say, this is Toby, he. Now, I used he, but you would prefer me not to use he or she. We don't have a pronoun in English.
An ideal language would have a pronoun. Again, do you change yourself to fit what's outside?
No, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying how difficult. Maybe in a way, though, all of life is or should be a fight to be the best of who we are, not changing ourselves. I mean, that's something that you hear about. I'm sure people are fascinated by your sex life.
Yeah, people are a lot more fascinated by that than I am. What sex life?
You have no sex life.
That's right. And it's not just a matter of not having the equipment, because professionals have been very, very earnestly and sincerely helpful in explaining to me all of these things that I can do, even without a penis or a vagina. And I sit there and I listen to them and I think, why on earth would I want to do that?
Toby, if you don't have the feeling for sex, if it isn't there, if you never knew that it existed, which in effect you don't, then it doesn't become a major number, right?
No, it doesn't. When I was 16, I was at a clinic where all these professionals were telling me, you can get a prosthetic penis made, and it will exactly match your skin color, and it will be exactly the right size for you, and you can strap it on, and you can have sex with it just like a man. And I sat there and I thought, what good would that do me?
Because you don't desire it.
Well, even if I did desire it, this is a piece of rubber. It does not have any feeling in it. It's not a part of my body. It's just, I might as well leave the thing home for my so-called partner to play with while I go out to a movie. You know, funny? If I'm gonna... If I'm going to be having a relationship with somebody, it's got to be me in that relationship, not some contraption that some doctors make.
Do you have any relationships? Do you have a relationship?
I have lots of relationships. I have...
Okay, a romantic relationship.
How do you define romantic?
Romantic. Interesting. Toby, it's almost as if you got here from Mars. I mean, you know, I'm beginning to feel I'm in a sci-fi movie.
I feel that way,
romantic
too. The difference is that I am the stranger on your planet, and you've got all these other people around
That's
here
right.
that are from the same planet you are, and I'm all alone here.
Okay, things that feel good. It feels wonderful to kiss somebody.
Yuck.
Yuck?
Yuck. No kissing. That's out.
Okay, it doesn't make you feel wonderful to kiss.
No.
It feels wonderful to hug and hold somebody.
That can be nice.
That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
When you feel that wonderful, that's nice, do you want to do anything more?
Not very often. I mean, what do you mean, anything more?
You want to get even more of a feeling of wonderful.
I think I can see where you're leading, and I'd like to lead you. There are all kinds of things that can lead to. All right, let me give you an example. I have a relationship that has been going on for almost 12 years now. We live together, we sleep together, we hug and cuddle a lot. There is never any genital contact except in cases where the other party needs assistance with personal hygiene. We're going to be together permanently. Is that a romantic or a sexual relationship?
No, it's
It's a
love.
loving one.
It's love.
All right, if I tell you that the other party in that relationship is my dog, does it make any difference?
Toby, you just tricked me.
Why? Why is that a trick?
Oh, because we assumed that you were in a relationship with a human.
If I were to be in a relationship with a human that involved that degree of closeness, it would have to be somebody I loved at least as much as I love my dog.
You never met a human that you loved as much as you love your dog?
No. I have a permanent lifetime commitment to that dog.
You could to a human.
I could, but I've never met anybody that seemed worth it.
Toby, you're absolutely fascinating. What's scaring me is that I'm not sure you might not be right. I mean, I believe we're all put here for some kind of a lesson. Maybe not for ourselves, but maybe even for other people. And I'm trying to figure out what the lesson is, Toby.
When you figure it out, tell me, write up lesson plans and quiz people.
Not that way. Not that cold, cut and dried. Do you believe in God?
Yes.
My takeaway from the whole healthcare CEO Luigi of it all is actually not a takeaway. It's something I've been really advocating for and believing in for a long time. We need to start bullying people hard for their jobs. Okay, people are like, bullying's bad. Bullying's bad if it's for someone's looks or their body, something that they can't control. I'm gonna bully you for the thing that you went to school for and did specialized training for and worked your way up in. Okay, if your job sucks, if your job's evil, we're bullying. People are like, it's poor conversation etiquette to ask what someone does for work. Yeah, that was a rule made by the people who do evil stuff for work. Do you know what I mean? If I have a dinner party and you're at my house and I'm like, oh, what do you do for work? And you're like, oh, I exploit sick people to make money. I'm having you leave the party. I got lunch once with someone I knew in college, hadn't seen in a few years. I was like, oh, what are you doing for work now? And he got shady about it. I was like, what do you do for work? He was like, I work on drones for the government. I was like, are you joking? He was like, I don't work on the weapons. And I was like, what part do you work on? And he was like, the targeting systems. We never hung out again. Do you understand what I'm saying? Make fun of, bully people for their jobs. You get lunch with your friend and she's got a new boyfriend. Hey, what's he do for work? Oh, he does HR at BlackRock. Do you see what I'm saying? We need to make people, shame people. Oh, it's just a job. No, it's evil. We need to harass people for their job. And honestly, hear me out. Harass people for their parents' jobs. If their rent's paid with blood money, get them. Not violently. Okay.
You hear about that healthcare CEO? That shit is crazy. It's not that crazy. I've seen crazier. You've seen crazier. Yeah, even in just the last year. Like what? I know you don't listen to the news because it's been really depressing, but I've been locked in. Okay, so what's crazier than the CEO thing? The live-streamed American-funded genocide in Palestine? And the reaction, or lack thereof, from the majority of American people? Definitely way up there. Oh yeah, you've been really upset about that. Yeah. I've watched the video of a man carrying the exploded body parts of his children in a grocery bag because that was all he had left of them. I've listened to the audio of a call from a 5-year-old little girl to aid workers as she was trapped in a car with the murdered bodies of her family around her, surrounded by Israeli tanks and soldiers, only for the little girl and the aid workers she called for help to get murdered by those same Israeli soldiers. I've seen newborn babies left to die in incubators after the Israeli army bombed the hospital they were in, killing the doctors, nurses, everyone inside. Newborn babies left to starve to death. I watched a 25-year-old on active duty in the U.S. Air Force set himself on fire in front of an Israeli embassy to protest this genocide. I've watched people in my daily life deny, defend, and ignore the genocide, and then genuinely be confused as to why I'm upset. Well, I know Palestine is a hot topic right now. I've seen literal images of child slavery in the DRC, and learned that child slavery is how we get the raw materials that power our smartphones and Teslas. Do you want me to keep going? No, not really. This is why I don't listen to the news. You're not really any fun anymore. I'll smile through it to prioritize your comfort. Thank you. But this Luigi guy, he's pretty hot, right? Totally.
مع الموسيقى. مع الشحبار والحريق. حلوة الحريق. هيدا بيتنا وهيدا المحل ضاع راحت كلها.
Is anyone visiting from another country? Yep. Bermuda! And you came here in the cold. Oh, wow. Yep, 25 square miles is not much else. Oh, well, 25 square miles is not much else. I'm Palestinian, so that sounds amazing to me. It doesn't get smaller every day. That's crazy.